She must be in great shock. Of course you're in shock. Who thinks of walking in and finding their son dead?
This is by far the most shocking case I have ever been a part of.
It was unlike anything we had ever seen here.
It felt extremely surreal to know that I was, somehow connected to these heinous murders.
How much bad luck can one family have?
It's not if Sarah's going to die, but when Sarah was going to die.
She was clinging to life. Her brain function is failing. Her liver function is failing.
I just felt like I wanted to strangle my mom because of what she did.
So are you a killer?
In a gripping tale of deception and tragedy, the Stott family's hidden horrors came to light. Diane and Rachel's involvement in a poisoning scheme targeting their own family members sent shockwaves through their community. As justice was pursued to untangle the web of lies, their actions led to life-altering consequences and a stark reminder that even the darkest secrets can be exposed through relentless investigation.
All right. Is it stout?
Stouty.
Stouty? Okay. Well, again, Miss Stouty, I appreciate you being willing to come down and speak with us. You're very helpful on your part.
I'm trying to be.
All right.
Don't know what I can tell you.
Well, okay. Well, that's what we're going to try and get figured out. Obviously, like I told you at the house, we got the call about Sarah and her condition, but you say she's doing better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did all this come about?
The individual being questioned by the police is Diane Stouda, a mother of 3 children. Her oldest daughter, Sarah, who was 23 years old at the time, had been rushed to the hospital when she was discovered unconscious in her bed.
She started feeling sick Saturday, just a mild
This
headache.
past Saturday?
Well, it's been a whole week.
Oh, so, okay. How did all that come about?
She started Saturday. She complained of a little headache, and her stomach was upset, and she threw up a couple of times, and that was it. And then her normal routine is she stays up all night and sleeps during the day. So I didn't think any about it until Sunday afternoon, and then I couldn't get her to wake up. She didn't respond to me, so we took her to the emergency room.
Okay.
Diane is about to recount the events that preceded her daughter's hospitalization. Unbeknownst to her, the detective has significantly more information than she realizes.
So on Saturday then, you said she was having some headaches and throwing up.
But it wasn't that bad.
Not
I
that.
mean, I've seen the flu bug worse.
Okay.
So I didn't think that much about it.
About what time was that on Saturday?
Oh, that was in the afternoon.
Okay. And then, you remember about what time it was that she went to bed?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I really don't know, because I go to bed at 10 at night, and she's usually still up.
Okay. And then you woke up Sunday morning?
And she was asleep.
Okay. Then what happened?
Me and the other girls went to church, and we left her sleeping.
Okay.
And then I came home, and she was still sleeping. And then maybe a couple hours later, I went to check on her, and we just couldn't get her to respond or answer or anything.
Okay. So you brought her to the ER?
Yeah.
And that was Sunday?
That was Sunday
night?
I want to say afternoon.
Afternoon.
It was still daylight.
Okay. Okay, so after you get home from church, you go in to check on her. She's still asleep, but she just will not respond. She's completely unresponsive.
Yeah.
Okay, and what time about was it that you got home from church?
I want to say around 12:30.
Okay. And then sometime you say in the afternoon, it was still light out. Do you remember about what time it was that you took her to the ER?
Maybe 3-ish.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right. Is she still unresponsive at that point?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we literally Rachel and I had to carry her.
Oh, wow.
We carried her to the car.
Okay. All right.
And it's like, okay, this is not good. You know, it's like something's wrong.
All right. And what did they say at the hospital?
Basically, she was as sick could get.
But no idea what it was?
We had no clue. Still don't really have a clue. I mean, with her medical background, she's bipolar.
Okay.
My first thing is, did she get into something? You know, did she try to overdose or something? And then when I got home from the ER, I checked her medicine, and she had plenty of pills left, so I don't think she OD'd her medicine, but I have no clue.
Okay.
Diane attempts to steer the conversation by suggesting that her daughter might be suffering from a mental illness and could potentially harm herself. The information she shares with the detective is accurate and can indeed account for Sarah's symptoms. However, this isn't the first occurrence of such symptoms within the Stotte family. In the past year, she has tragically lost both her husband and 22-year-old son, both of whom displayed identical symptoms just before their untimely deaths.
So it didn't look like to you then that she would have overdosed
No,
on her
and
then?
then I, you know, when I'm telling the ER folks, you know, this is her history, and I know they were probably running every test under the sun on her, and they said nothing, they couldn't figure it out either.
Okay. If she wouldn't have, obviously because the pills were there, if she wouldn't have overdosed on pills, you know what else she might have done?
She's talked about in the past about cutting her wrist, but as far as other ways, I have no clue.
Okay,
She's
but obviously
really never
she didn't.
said anything.
But obviously she didn't cut her wrist.
No,
Okay.
no,
So you don't know how else she might have done it.
no.
Okay.
I mean, if she did find something to take, I have no clue.
Okay. You have any idea what it would be that she'd find to take?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I don't. As far as pills, I don't have much. Other, you know, Tylenol, Motrin, that type of stuff. But
Anything else maybe besides pills or that she could do?
well, if she got into like cleaners and stuff like that, but I don't know. I can't really picture her doing that.
Okay. So you don't think she's the type of person that would try to harm herself, or?
I really don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Part of me says yeah, part of me says no. I don't know.
Did she mention anything about, wanting to harm herself, or
No.
nothing at all?
No.
Okay.
No. I know she had been not sleeping as good as she's been in the past, but other than that, I hadn't really noticed much change.
Okay.
But then, I don't know. It's so subtle sometimes, you just never know what's going on.
Sure.
And it's tough because I try to give her space, but yet I want to kind of know what's going on.
You said you have other daughters. How many do you have?
I have two others.
How old are they?
22 and 11.
Would they know? Would Sarah have maybe said something to them about wanting to harm herself?
I asked
or?
them and they said they hadn't, nothing.
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 Okay. So you don't think it was pills? You thought maybe she could have gotten into some cleaners or something?
Yeah, because I know I have cleaners, and what else is there?
Among various scenarios, Diane brings up the idea of household cleaners. When the detective presses her for more details, she humorously describes the potential possibilities. It's unusual for most people to find humor in discussing potential ways their child might have poisoned themselves.
What kind of cleaners do you think it could have been that she would have?
What do I have? I can't see her taking soap. Yuck. The general, everyday cleaner. I
Well,
have some of that.
What would that be?
What's the name of it? Lysol?
Okay.
I know I have that, but I don't.
Could you even hurt yourself from soap or Lysol? Do you know? I'm not.
I have no clue.
No clue, okay.
I don't even think about.
Right.
Stuff
I've just
like
never
that.
heard of anything like that, so I
I
don't.
haven't either. It's like, but I guess I don't know. I guess if you took enough, something would do something. But I've never. I don't know.
Okay. But she's, as far as you know, she hasn't mentioned anything at all to anybody about wanting to harm herself. So that would kind of surprise you then.
Yeah.
Okay. And as far as you know, they still don't know anything at the hospital?
No. Other than whatever happened really did a number on her.
What do you think?
In some investigative situations, detectives might ask suspects what they believe happened. This question is strategic because it often provokes suspects to provide answers that align with the narrative they've already crafted in their minds. These answers tend to be generally accurate, but lack specific details, as suspects aim to steer the investigation toward their intended outcome.
I really don't know. I've been trying to rack my brains trying to figure out what happened. So.
And from what I understand, you're in the medical field. Is that?
I'm a nurse.
You're a nurse. Okay.
But I'm a cardiology nurse. I know hearts, but.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And from what I understand too, I think you're pretty well respected in your profession. Is that correct? And is there anything from your knowledge? I know you say you deal with the heart and stuff, but from your knowledge, is there anything that you could think of that it could have been? Because obviously, from what we understand, you're pretty intelligent.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is.
I try.
Yeah.
But I really can't think of anything. I mean, I don't know. Psych's not my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I understand that.
That's a whole different realm, and it's like, just.
Yeah, I understand the psych part, but in terms of like medical condition wise, is there anything medical condition wise
that would
you
cause all this? The only thing I'm thinking in my mind is, unless it's an autoimmune something or the other, but I've never heard of that causing. Basically she had a total body collapse.
Okay.
I mean, all her organs were trying to fail, and it's like, I don't know of anything that would do all of that.
Yeah.
Maybe one thing, but not all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It just don't make sense.
Okay. If she did take some cleaners or something, could that essentially?
Well, I can see that hurting the kidneys, but that wouldn't cause her brain. I mean, she had a brain bleed.
Oh, she had
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's like, I can't figure that one out. Because I even asked, it's like, you're sure it's a bleed, not a stroke, or a blood clot? Because that runs in my family, so. But they said it was a bleed, and it's like, what would do that?
Strokes or blood clots run in your family?
Uh-huh.
Both, or I'm sorry, strokes?
Well, it's the same thing.
Oh, okay.
You can throw a blood clot to the brain, and that causes a stroke.
Okay. And that runs in your family?
Uh-huh.
Like how far?
Well, I've had a TIA.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't know.
That's like a mini stroke.
Okay.
And then my mom had one, and her mom died of a stroke.
Okay.
But
would it be common for somebody that her age though, that because from what I understand, Sarah was in really good.
Yeah, she was in good. As
I mean,
far as we know,
physical
she
health,
was in good
great
health.
physical health. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at her age, the only thing I can see is if she was on birth control pills, but she wasn't.
All the medical tests conducted on Sarah at the hospital yielded negative results. This implies that if she had been poisoned, it likely involved someone with knowledge of chemicals and how to evade detection through lab tests. Diane is aware of this, so whenever the detective attempts to discuss her medical expertise, she takes steps to dismiss or divert the conversation away from that topic.
I mean, I keep thinking, what drug is there that would do that? Because it almost sounds like a drug overdose, but I can't think of what. And
But her
where did
talks
she
came
get
back
it?
with absolutely nothing in her system.
Nothing.
So we can eliminate that then.
Yeah.
What the cleaners, if that was the case, would
That
could
I
that
would think even that something in there would show up.
how would that show up?
I don't know
Mhm.
whatever chemicals are in there. Because I know it was negative on alcohol, so I know she didn't get into the beer, but
Is she much of a drinker?
no.
No. What about drug user? Is she much of a drug
No,
user?
not,
Nothing that
not
you're
that I
aware
know
of?
of.
Okay.
See, that makes me question, it's like, well, did she do something? And if she did, I'd sure as heck like to know what, so I could prevent it again. I can't go through this again.
What do you mean? Can't
This
go
has
through
been
this
rough.
again? Oh, you mean this whole ordeal? Okay, yeah.
It's rough.
I bet, especially since she almost
I know,
died.
yeah.
Diane displays an obvious lack of concern for Sarah's well-being. Instead, she emphasizes her desire to understand the cause of the situation in order to prevent its relapse, with a focus on her own dislike of going through such an ordeal again. This deviation from the typical motherly response, which would involve significant concern for a nearly lost child, becomes more apparent as the interrogation unfolds.
Where are you a nurse at?
I work out of the house. I work for an insurance company.
Oh, okay. What do you do for
I
nurse for an
review-
insurance company?
Yeah, I review claims.
Oh, okay. Okay. How long have you done that?
About 12 years.
Wow.
I love it.
God, that's pretty good getting to work
No-
out of the
no
house
vac-
too,
no-
right?
I don't have to work holidays.
Oh, that's good. That's good. You get to make your own schedule, or?
Pretty much, yeah. We have flexible hours.
Wow. Well, you can't beat that.
Yeah. It's like, yes.
I wish I had flexible hours. You have any idea what we could look for in terms of? I mean, it sounds like it's just such a an odd deal. Anything at all that to give us some guidance to figure out what happened, or any suggestions you could think of?
I really can't think of anything. I mean, I really don't know.
Does she work anywhere?
No.
No.
She's been supposedly trying to find a job, but I don't think she's been trying that hard.
Pardon me, real quick. I'll be right back.
Diane has been skillfully concealing her knowledge of what emerged with Sarah's hospitalization. In truth, she is fully aware of the circumstances, knowing that the same tragic fate befell her husband Mark and her son, Sean. A year earlier, Diane had been secretly adding antifreeze to her husband's drinks, but their causes of death were initially attributed to their unhealthy lifestyles by medical examiners. 6 months later, her son also passed away, again with the cause of death seemingly linked to pre-existing health conditions. It wasn't until Sarah's hospitalization that detectives initiated further tests on the autopsies of Mark and Sean. These examinations unveiled the presence of antifreeze components, providing a breakthrough in identifying the true cause of their deaths. Despite this crucial evidence, the police still need to produce a confession from Diane to close the case.
Well, let me ask you this, because from talking with the hospital, it sounds like they're doing a bunch of tests, and they're even sending some tests off to labs elsewhere. They mentioned the Mayo Clinic and
Oh, wow.
and possibly other places. Just the nature of this. Do you think there's going to be anything suspicious that they find in all these tests that they're going to be doing?
I have no clue.
Okay.
Because I don't even know what to look for.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if they're looking for some kind of a chemical that you may have taken, I can't think of what it would be to even know what tests they're doing.
Because from
Does that make sense?
well, I see. From my understanding, it sounds like they're going to run a whole bunch of various chemical type tests, possibly, and just a whole bunch of other tests to see what was going on.
Yeah.
If it would come back that there was something in there like that, how would you explain that?
I don't know. Depends. I don't know. Depends on what. If something did show up, I'd have to figure out what it is, and then try and figure out where did it come from.
Do you know much about the autopsy process?
A little bit.
Okay. What did they tell you about Sean's autopsy?
That he had a congenital kidney defect. That they found quite a bit of brain damage. I'd never heard of the word gliosis before. They had found where he'd had his initial stroke, and then there was evidence of seizures.
Okay. Because we've spoken with the medical examiner about that. And I guess when they first did it, they really didn't look too much into if there was any types of chemicals or anything at all in his system or anything else like that. But when we did talk to them, they were able to tell us that they, just like with all autopsies, if you're familiar with those, they take tissue samples and hair samples and all kinds of other samples, and they basically keep them for a while. And fortunately, they still have a bunch of his stuff, and so they're gonna do a bunch of tests on his stuff as well. Okay. So if his stuff were to come back with anything like that, something similar to maybe this, what Sarah's might come back with, how would you explain that?
I don't know. I really don't know. Again, it depends on what shows up. And
What do you think it might be?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Think there could be anything maybe malicious or suspicious involved with that?
I can't think of that, you know.
Would you be surprised if something like that came back?
Yeah,
Would you?
I think so. I think I would be surprised. I
Okay.
mean,
Why would you
I
be
never-
surprised?
well, I never anticipated anything showing up, you know?
You never anticipated anything showing up. Why would you not
Well-
anticipate anything showing up?
Because I really don't know what, how can I say this to make sense? I really don't know. Like, for instance, Sarah, I don't know what happened.
Right.
And as far as Sean, I'm just taking their word that
Yeah.
that's what happened.
And I understand. I think their initial, because they didn't obviously go into a bunch of stuff, but now after Sarah's condition, and there was no autopsy done on Mark, as we know, but maybe from some samples that were taken initially, not the autopsy, but just because I know Mark had some substance on his face and things like that, and from samples there, is there any reason that from samples taken at the time of these that there may be some kind of correlation or some kind of link to anything that may be similar in those?
I don't know.
You don't know? And if there was?
I wouldn't know.
I understand you wouldn't know, but if there was, though, something similar amongst them.
I have no clue.
What would your explanation be, though?
I don't know.
What was Mark's life insurance policy like?
He only had 20,000. That was it.
Okay. How about Sean?
Sean only had 15.
What about Sarah?
Sarah only has 15, I believe.
Rachel?
And Rachel has 15.
And Brianna?
Has 15.
Okay. And you were able to get the money from Mark and Sean's, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
It took a while, but
So yeah, but you
finally.
didn't, right. And what did you do with that money?
With Mark's, we were able to move into a better neighborhood.
Right. How about Sean's?
With Sean's, I haven't even, right now it's still in savings because I haven't quite figured out what to do yet
Okay.
with some of it.
What were your plans?
Some things I'm thinking more of just paying off bills.
Okay. What about Sarah's? If she passed, what was gonna...
I have no clue.
Let's get back to the medical stuff, because of the samples from tissues and fluids and everything else at the hospital are doing with Sarah. And then because of that, they're going to go back, obviously, like I told you, and reevaluate Sean's autopsy and the samples that have been saved since then. And again, Mark having the same deal. So how would you explain, what would be your explanation if there's something in their samples that comes back as being, as if there is some kind of chemical or something that shouldn't be there of that nature?
I really don't know. I know Sean and Sarah were very close.
Okay, and what do you mean by that?
Well, they talked a lot together.
But what would that have to do
But
with having
I
some
don't
kind
know.
of substance? What would that have to do with some kind of substance, though, that shouldn't be there?
I don't
Being-
know.
Okay.
Really, I don't know.
Okay. What, you wouldn't have any kind of explanation for that? Okay. Do you think they're going to come back with anything like that?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
And if they do,
I'd have no clue.
and you don't have any explanation as to why that would be?
No.
The detective poses a hypothetical question to Diane, providing her with an opportunity to account for any potential evidence that might emerge. Some individuals have an unjustified confidence in their ability to outsmart the police and believe they can talk their way out of any situation. However, what they often overlook is that detectives are extensively trained in interrogation techniques and skilled at employing various strategies to produce confessions. Diane, in this respect, shares a similar belief, convinced that she can provide an explanation for the hypothetical evidence presented to her.
Oftentimes, there's cases that come up that are similar to this, where people are harmed, by other people, and there's always a reason. If somebody was to harm if their deaths were because of something like that, if somebody was to harm them, why do you think that would be? What would be the reason for somebody to want to harm them?
I don't know about my kids, but Mark had a lot of weird friends. Well, I don't know if I'd call them friends. Acquaintances. He would, they were into drugs and all that, but that wouldn't surprise me. But as far as my kids, I can't imagine
You can't imagine.
anybody trying to harm them.
Did you ever have any suspicion with Mark's death?
Not really. I wouldn't call it suspicion. I was not surprised because he would binge drink and
What was your guys' marriage like?
how can I say this? We were still married, but it was not what you call a good marriage.
Mm-hmm. Have there been any infidelities on either side?
He had.
Yeah. So I'm guessing then just briefly thought he wasn't the best husband?
Probably not.
Okay.
Not to society, no.
What do you mean by that, not to society?
Well, he was running around and he would drink and smoke pot and
So he wasn't a very good guy is what you're saying?
Yeah. I know, I've had friends who told me I should kick him out, but I couldn't find myself kicking him out.
Why not?
I was afraid he'd kill himself.
Why is that though? Why would he kill himself?
Oh, he was bipolar too.
And even though things were bad and he wasn't a good husband and you said he wasn't good for society, that you didn't want him to kill himself?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Even with all his faults, I still loved him.
Okay. And Sean, any reason for anybody to want to harm Sean?
I can't think of that. No.
As Diane dives into her relationship with her husband, the pieces of the puzzle start to fit together. She explains that her husband was not employed, and she single-handedly supported the family while he wasted time on music and drinking, leaving her to work and care for the children. A similar situation was true for Sean, who had a disability and required extensive care and attention each day. In contrast, Sarah seemed to lead a life of leisure, spending her days sleeping and her nights socializing with friends. Despite Diane's pleas for her to contribute to the family by finding employment, Sarah remained unresponsive to her requests. With this complete understanding of their family dynamics, the detective decides that it's time to disclose the test results to Diane.
Well, Ms. Dow, there's been some things that have come up. We've been investigating this for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's been some things that have come up during the investigation. Some of it to do with some tests that have been done on Sarah.
Okay.
And then again, some of it from when we've started working with the doctors that had performed the autopsy. So there's some questions that need to be answered about that. And I'm hoping that we can get an explanation, because I know that you, from looking into this stuff and looking into you, I know that you are that you're a God-fearing woman. You strong in the church. Very, very dedicated to the church. You're somebody that knows, about the right thing and about God's way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a believer myself, so I understand where you're coming from on that. Sometimes in life, there's things that happen or things that go on that may not, good people don't normally always do, but there's reasons for sometimes people to slip up a little bit, make a mistake every now and then. You would agree with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here we are with this situation now where some stuff's been brought to our attention, and I think you're a very good lady.
Okay.
with the right intentions,
try.
right? Yeah, you try.
I try.
But sometimes everybody kind of reaches a tipping point or a breaking point, and it gets to where again, like I said, that maybe certain decisions are made that normally wouldn't be made for that. And with some of the stuff involved in these cases, from what we've been looking at, I think you're aware of why we're here.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think you know why we're here talking. And now is your chance to kind of help fill in because there still are some questions about why things may have happened and that nature, and this is your opportunity, because people are going to be looking for some answers, and they're going to want to know why, and we're going to want to be able to go back to them and say, this is it, she's a good person, but give them some kind of explanation as to why, because I know that there's a reason, maybe why some of this stuff did happen.
As far as Sarah, I don't know. Did she get into something? Goodness, my stomach's grumbling.
Let's get past that, Diane. Okay, let's talk about it, because I think you probably want to talk about it. You need to talk about it, because when people do things, it's always good to ask for forgiveness. You know that. And oftentimes the best way to ask for forgiveness is to talk about it and give an explanation as to why things happen.
As far as Sarah's a difficult child to deal with.
I understand.
And I've been kind of putting pressure on her to, you need to get out and get a job. Your college bills are coming due. I don't want to pay for them. After all, you get tired of doing everything for your kids, and it's like you need to step up and do it. But as far as, I don't know. As far as did I do something to her, I didn't do anything to her. I mean, I guess I could have taken her to the ER sooner, but I didn't know.
How would you explain, if through everything that's been going on, because I've been involved in this investigation for a while now, and I've been working with the hospital, how would you explain, because the hospital has been, like I said, working with me, and you may not be privy to know everything that we've been discussing. How would you explain if something's been found that may indicate otherwise?
I don't know. All I know is if she, I don't know. I know I didn't do anything.
And if you did?
I'm just telling you, I didn't do anything. I mean, the only thing, maybe I could have taken her in sooner, but...
In a last-ditch effort to get a confession from Diane, the detective uses a well-established technique. When a suspect is on the brink of confessing, the detective might explain that they understand the reasons behind the crime. It could be due to feeling overwhelmed or an impulsive act. The detective may express sympathy for the suspect's situation and then pose a thought-provoking question. They'll ask if the suspect wants to appear as a monster in the eyes of their friends and family. When a suspect believes that they are likely to be caught, this question can lead them to think that confessing is a more reasonable option, as it portrays them as someone who had a mental breakdown rather than a heartless monster. This psychological tactic is often used to tip the scales towards a confession.
Diane, here's the deal. I'm here to try to help you out with all this, because I know...
Because I need all the help I can get.
I understand. I understand. I really do. And I know that this is... I know because you're a good person, I know that this is tearing you up, that this is bothering you. I truly understand that. But I'm here to help you out, because I know that you don't want, because of you being a good person, you don't want everybody out here, when this all comes out, you don't want them to think of you as a bad, evil type person. Because I know that that's not how you are. But that's why I'm here to try to help you out, to give you the opportunity to say, because I think I know why. And it's for some of the reasons we've already talked about. I think it's just pushed to the brink. Can't take it anymore. You know, you're doing all this stuff for everybody. You're working all the time. You're paying the bills. You're doing this. You're doing that. You can't get help. No jobs. You got all this other stuff. All these other burdens coming upon you, where all of us get to a point where we just say, you know, enough is enough. And I understand that. But you gotta help me figure out. You gotta tell me this stuff. You gotta tell me why. That way we can get to that point. That's way when we can get it out there that, you know what, this isn't just about somebody that's bad and evil. You want people to know that that's not what it is. It just gets to the point, Diane. It's just the breaking point. All of us, every one of us have it.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that, Diane. It's just, we all have that. We get right there, and then, I mean, all the burdens that you have on you. You know that, I know that. And that's what I'm giving you the chance, Diane. That's why we're here today, is so you can tell me. So we can get it all on the table. It'll be that weight that'll be lifted off your shoulders, because I know people that care, especially good people like yourself, that walk around and carry this kind of stuff, carry these kind of burdens. So many times just talking about it, to get it out there and say, here's the deal, I did this because I had all this going on. And then it'll be a relief to be able to talk about it, to get it off your shoulders, and then to help with the forgiveness and the healing process. But you have to do it. That's why I'm here. You have to sit down, just like we're doing, and talk about it and get it all out there.
I know.
You do know
I'm
that.
afraid of
You
going
do
to
know.
jail.
I know you're afraid of going to jail, but that you shouldn't even be thinking about that right now.
I know. But that's how my mind works.
I understand, but let's put that out of your mind, because you shouldn't even be thinking about that. I understand you're afraid to go to jail. Well, we're not going to even think about that, because that's got nothing to do with it. Now is your chance to tell us why, and to show some remorse and ask for forgiveness, and that way I can go to these other people and say, yeah, she made some mistakes and that was it. So tell me about it, Diane.
There's a lot of arguments. And to put it really short and sweet, I knew they were drinking antifreeze. And I was so mad at them, I didn't want to take them in. I delayed.
And why'd you delay?
Because I was mad.
And that would just eliminate those problems, wouldn't it? They wouldn't be there to nag you, to bug you, to talk bad to you, to be mean to you, to be disrespectful to you. That would just be a problem that's gone.
Yeah. I guess you could say that, but
Right. But Diane,
problems never go away.
right. How'd you know they were drinking antifreeze, Diane?
They told me.
Diane, I want you to understand this, okay? I want you to understand where we're at this point. Okay. Right now, because I know you're scared. I completely understand that. I 110% understand that you're scared. But Diane, right now is not the time to tell me things that aren't true. Because it all comes back to, again, when other people, not me, but when other people that are going to see this, look at this and go, did she come in and tell the truth? Or did she lie, and lie? Okay? You have to understand there's going to be a lot of people that look at this, and you don't want them to see all these lies. You and I both know why you knew they were drinking antifreeze, and you need to tell me about that. And lying about it, Diane, will not help you. You know that. You don't need me to tell you that. You need to... I know how you knew they were drinking antifreeze. Then you need to tell me.
How I knew they were drinking it? Because I saw them drinking it.
You need to tell me the whole truth, Diane. And you know we're looking at each other eye to eye right now. You know that I know. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I wouldn't have showed up on your door today. Because when we've been investigating for a while, and we had to make sure that everything was as it was appearing. That's why we waited. And then I showed up today to talk to you. And Diane, right now, because you're a good person, you're better than this. People that come in here and are not completely truthful with me are the bad people. And you're not one of those. We need to get past all this stuff. I understand you're scared. I completely understand that. But we got to get past this, Diane, because there's going to be lots of other people that see this and look at this. And you got to tell the truth, the whole truth. I know why you need to tell it.
Why they were drinking it, or?
I know how they were drinking.
Yeah.
You need to tell the whole story, Diane. People will look at this and you have to understand, just as a person on the outside, when you look at this, if you're sitting and you look, did this person come in and say, you know what, I'm sorry, what I did was wrong, and this is why I did it, and this is how I did it, and they put it all out on the table to get it over with. Usually people look at that and go, you know what, they made a mistake, but they owned up to it and they did the right thing. Or do you have somebody that comes in and tries to not tell the whole truth, that says this or that, but it's not the whole truth, and people know that? When then people see that, they go, you know what, she made some mistakes, but then she tried to not tell the whole truth about it. I'm not quite sure that person's as good as what we thought. So you have to understand that, Diane. You've got to tell me the whole truth, because you know that I already know. But you've got to tell me how all this started, when it started, why it started. Because you're going to want people to see that you're remorseful and that, you know, you're sorry for what you did. And that you've asked for forgiveness. Diane, you knew that they were drinking antifreeze. Mm-hmm. You knew that. They didn't. We both know that. You knew, Diane, that they were drinking antifreeze because you were giving it to them.
I didn't know what else to do.
understand. Were you just like we talked, were you just at the breaking point?
Yeah. I didn't know what else to do.
In a breakthrough moment, Diane finally confesses to the crime. Shockingly, it is revealed that she didn't act alone. Her daughter, Rachel, with whom she had a seemingly pleasant relationship, had also been involved in spiking the drinks of their family members. Initially, when they interviewed Rachel, she adamantly denied any participation. However, their search of the home would uncover Rachel's journal, containing damning evidence of her involvement in the poisoning of all 3 family members.
How long had you been giving them the antifreeze before they finally got, like before Sean passed and before Sarah got to the point that she was?
Maybe a couple of days.
And what were you putting it in?
Coca-Cola.
What else?
I think that was it.
How much would you put in?
Just a little bit.
And why just a little bit?
I didn't want to hurt them. I don't know. I didn't want to hurt them.
So you pour them the Coke, and then while you pour them the Coke, that's when you put the antifreeze in the Coke? Okay. How long did you think it would take before they finally would pass?
I had no clue.
When they weren't passing right away, did you eventually start to give them more and more?
I may have. I don't remember.
You know, how often was this every day, or how many times a day? I guess I should say.
Once a day.
Once a day.
Yeah.
And you say it started out with a couple tablespoons, but then when it wasn't killing them, then maybe it moved on to just a little bit more and more.
Maybe. I don't remember.
How long ago did you start with Sarah to give her the antifreeze?
Maybe a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Rachel and Diane face criminal charges for their actions. Rachel ultimately decides to testify against her mother, leading to her receiving a life sentence with the potential for parole after 42 years. Diane, on the other hand, is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. While Sarah does recover, she endures permanent damage and currently resides in assisted living. Diana, after initially expressing remorse, has now changed her stance and denies any involvement in the crimes. According to the detective overseeing the case, there is no evidence to suggest the involvement of any other individuals beyond those already mentioned, strengthening the convictions of Rachel and Diane for the poisoning incidents.
Again, this all got started. You're saying Mark is the first one. There's nobody before Mark, not in your past life or not in, okay, Mark's the first one. And it just got started. You said you hated his guts and
I just couldn't take it
couldn't take it anymore. And so you did some research on the internet about antifreeze poisoning. You were aware of, the taste and things of that nature, like you said. Then you ordered some antifreeze, and then you gave it to him for a few days before it finally started to kick in and work. Okay. And then with Sean, you said we talked about he just became such a pest and bothering you, always interfering, things of that nature. And you said it took a couple days, right? Before it started to kick in on him. And then with Sarah, you talked about, she wasn't getting a job, and then she had these student loans, and you were going to end up having to pay for them. She wasn't working, and you said you guys argued a lot. Was there anything else more, or is that pretty much?
That's pretty much.
And you just had it with her as well. Okay, and then you said it took about 4 days before it started to work on her. Okay. And you didn't use anything, just antifreeze. There's nothing else at all. Okay. So if you can stand up for us, we're going to have to put some handcuffs on you. We're not going to put them on tight, but I have to have you put your hands behind your back.
Formalities.
Yeah, it is. Again, my name's Detective McCandless, so if you think of something tonight or tomorrow morning that you think that you need to tell me about, you can ask them to speak with me and they'll get a hold of me at the gym, okay? Thank you for being so decent with me, Diane.
In the final chapter of this chilling case, the Stout family's dark secrets were laid bare. Rachel's cooperation and testimony against her mother and Diane's initial confession and later denial led to a life sentence without parole. Sarah's remarkable resilience amid her permanent injuries offered a shine of hope. The detective's conclusion that no one else was involved highlights the crucial role of thorough investigation. This tragic story is a stark reminder that even the most carefully constructed tricks can be undone and that justice ultimately prevails. Remember, it's your curiosity that fuels this channel. Keep exploring, stay inspired, and join us for more amazing content next time.